The way we consume and share news today, it is largely rooted in social media outlets, a reason why it's crucial to look at what's being discussed online. From the hottest issues to trends for our daily social media minute, we're now joined by Hyosun via Zoom. Good morning, Hyosun.
Good morning and happy Friday.
Happy Friday. All right. So it's nothing new, I suppose. It may be expected, especially post-pandemic. People are, excited to travel more. And we did see an influx of tourists in Korea. But the question has changed. What are some of the most popular attractions in cities across the country? Turns out museums. That's where it's happening.
Yes. South Korea has stationed itself as a very popular tourist destination for many international travelers, and especially with K-culture, including food, music, drama, and also cosmetics gaining popularity worldwide. But did you know that museums across the country are now attracting more and more international
I
tourists?
didn't, Hyosun, but now I know.
This is really interesting. The National Museum of Korea in Yongsan-gu District, Central Seoul, for instance, has witnessed a whopping 170% jump in the number of yearly international visitors as of October this year. This number surpassed 142,000 as of October, a significant jump from some 52,000 last year. On average, this means about 600 international visitors per day visit the museum. And this museum, as you know, which spans 3 floors and 6 galleries, has now become a notable tourist destination here in Korea, especially after BTS filmed their Dear Class of 2020 speech before performing a medley of songs. And also backed by the popularity of K-culture, of course, the National Hangul Museum in central Seoul is also attracting more and more international visitors. It says there were over 14,000 international visitors as of September this year, which is an increase by more than 8.2% compared to year 2019, when it had actually a record high number of foreign visitors. And in addition, other museums around the country, for instance, the Gyeongju National Museum, is also becoming increasingly popular among foreign tourists. A curator there at the museum says she can actually feel a sharp increase in the number of international visitors, adding that some 6,200 foreigners visited the museum this year as of September, a jump by over 3 folds compared to the same period of last year.
So it's not just BTS, is it? Because you named the 3 different museums in 3 different parts of the country. And frankly speaking, K-pop is wonderful. And I've covered K-pop for many, many, many years. So believe me when I say I understand its reach. But I think when we travel, we want to see more than just pop culture, right? Not to say it's shallow, but we just want a little bit more. And I'm glad that international tourists understand we have museums too. All right. I'm sure I'm not the only one to say that I'm very happy to see that Korean history and the Korean language is finally getting some spotlight. The resumption of international travel must have contributed to the influx too.
Yes, right, Lina. The post-pandemic travel boom, of course, plays a very significant role in attracting more foreigners to the country. And what's interesting is that after the pandemic, especially, we are seeing international visitors from more diverse countries coming to Korea. Traditionally, most of them were from neighboring China or Japan or even Southeast Asian countries. But now more Westerners are choosing Korea as their travel destination as well. And guest house owners here in Korea also say there are now visitors from all across the world, including Europe and even all the way from Latin America. They also say, this is really interesting, they also say that many of them have a very good level of Korean language skills.
And when they're here, they really want to test out their skills because I had like my brother's friends, extended families of friends coming in, and all of them wanted to speak to me in Korean. And I thought, But
It's time to test their skills.
yeah, I understand the sentiment.
Yeah,
And for our
yeah,
local
yeah.
listeners, if you haven't been to the National Museum of Korea, which is so close to us here on Arirang Station, it's a
That's right.
massive venue and there's so much to
Mm-hmm.
see. And if not for anything else, the open space there is so exciting. I've seen weddings
Right,
too.
right. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to our second buzzword of the day. Did you know that South Korea is ready to introduce a set of green license plates, but it has nothing to do with the environment?
Yes, corporate cars worth over 60,000 US dollars will now be obliged to have a light green colored license plate. The Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport said Thursday that this new regulation will take effect from January 1st of 2024. And this is part of President Yoon Suk-yeol's ambitious goal of preventing tax evasion, actually.
Mm.
One of his campaign pledges were changing the color of number plates of company-owned cars from the current white ones to the light green ones to make them distinguishable from personal cars. This is intended to prevent business owners from evading taxes by purchasing luxurious supercars as vehicles owned or leased by a business, but end up using them for just personal purposes.
Mm.
The plan also comes amid a reduction in the number of new cars registered in Korea by an annual average of 1.3% over the past 5 years, but actually an increase in the number of vehicles registered under corporate names
Mm.
by 2.4% during the same period.
I remember the conversation that ensued after the set of statistics we'll get to in just a moment, but what color to make this license plate was a point of discussion, right? I was just a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
surprised to see it be green.
the green ones.
It's kind of misleading, isn't it? But
It is.
anyway, that's perhaps not the point of today's discussion topic. There were these set of alarming figures back in 2022, a report published by the Korean Automotive Manufacturers Association that said 8 out of 10 supercars purchased in the country were registered to a company last year. So overwhelming majority was not technically allocated for personal use. Now we hope the new plan will serve its role and prevent people from evading taxes, but it looks like the scope of this new rule has been scaled back from its original plan. What changed? What is this about?
Yes. As I've just explained, the rule will only be applied to corporate-owned vehicles, which are worth more than 60,000 US dollars. And it will also be only applied to cars that are newly registered after the regulation comes into effect, so which is January 1st of next year. However, earlier this year, when the ministry held its public hearing on the regulation, they did not mention the value of the vehicles, and the starting date actually has been pushed back from its original plan as well. And to this, the ministry explains that it has carried out diverse and multifaceted review to make sure that the rule is practical and feasible. And while it hopes to that this rule will prevent businesses from evading taxes, the ministry also did add that it does not want to see any contracted business activities just due to this new regulation being introduced.
All right, come next year, we'll see more light green license plates owned by businesses. However, we'll wait and see if this, when it's realized, has the desired effect. And Hyosun, I know you're not in Seoul as we speak, but yesterday was the hottest November morning we've had ever. And it was so confusing that I changed my outfits 3 times throughout the day. Weather peculiarities, I suppose, was expected with climate change, but what comes next is apparently smog.
Yes, my family's back in Korea. They're also very worried about this fine dust and smog coming because they know it is coming.
Mm.
And the fine dust and dirty haze are an annual ordeal, actually, that Northeast Asia has been dealing with very long time. And it looks like the time has come for this year as well, because authorities in China have issued their highest warnings for fog and haze as smog blanketed major cities of northern China. I saw some pictures coming out of Beijing. The sky was invisible. It was just gray, thick layers of smog, and warning the public of a drop in visibility. 8 of their highways, including those connecting major cities like Beijing and Harbin, have actually been shut down. And this round of thick gray smog falling over Beijing and other neighboring cities have been witnessed from late last month, following the end of the 2023 Belt and Road Forum held in China. And experts also cite the normalization of industrial activities across China after the pandemic as one of the major reasons of such thick smog also being visible again. The six-layer air quality index was raised to 4 and even 5 for the northern Henan province earlier this week. This comes as the government of Beijing municipality issued the orange alert, second only to red. It also advised its citizens to stay indoors and avoid outdoor activities if possible.
And the winds will bring this thick smog over to South Korean peninsula very soon. How can we better prepare ourselves from the severe levels of toxic fine dust pollution this autumn? Am I bringing out my face masks again?
Lena, it is extremely sad and even miserable just to think about this gray smog blanketing the beautiful autumn sky across Korea, because this is actually the season to enjoy the blue sky, actually. But yes, we need to remember how to protect ourselves from the fine dust, or shall we say, an unwelcome guest at this time of the year. Well, first of all, most importantly, experts do say it is very important to wear your face masks. And while these masks can filter out fine dust particles, they also do warn that they do not protect you from nitrogen oxide or any other hazardous gas type toxins. So if you have weak or sensitive respiratory system, or if you also have underlying illnesses, they say it is crucial that you stay indoors and refrain from spending too much time outside. Also to note is the pregnant women, because they may also suffer fetal growth restriction and even premature birth when exposed to fine dust too often. So they should also be very cautious. And in addition, we've been hearing this multiple and numerous times, but experts do put great emphasis on personal hygiene measures such as washing of hands and face. And they also point out that it's really important to rinse your eyes as well, because the dust particles can also easily go into your eyes. And I know many of you may want to refrain from opening the windows for ventilation when you see the thick layers of fine dust outside. But experts do say ventilation is also needed from time to time.
Okay, so maybe allocate certain time slots throughout the day to open up the windows and then close and then wipe down my counters again.
That's right. For a very limited amount of time, you should open the windows, but close them really quickly. But you do need to have multiple times to where you open the windows and just get some fresh air into your homes and your rooms as well.
Yes, and it feels like you're just giving me a list of chores to do over the weekend. Thanks.
Just want you to stay healthy and safe.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much, Hyo-sun, for joining us this week. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.